What do you consider the main challenges for you?
So the geopolitical risk is there. It might impact us on where to invest, maybe a bit of how much we invest, but we always try to keep our investment pace.
Lorenzo, pleasure being here with you today in London. We are at the GI event and you are here representing KIC. Before we start with questions, for those that just arrived now, can you tell more about your role at KIC and tell more about KIC as well?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's my pleasure as well. KIC now been working for 10 years. KIC is a Korean sovereign wealth fund. We have an office here in London with headquarters in Seoul. I joined them in 2015. And before that, I was working for Schroders here in London. And my role here in the London office is to cover the European real estate market, investment and asset management.
And as a very important LP, when you look at the different type of strategies that you can execute in the market here in Europe, what are the key strategies for you right now?
Well, KIC has been growing over the years. We're still quite young as a sovereign wealth fund compared to other sovereign wealth funds. So we started as a strategy more indirect at the beginning, starting with the global investment, then European investment. And in the last 10 years, we moved the one we call direct. So we start having like a JV partnership and the co-investment with different funds. So we slowly try to target more different countries with different operators, but we still keep our indirect strategy in terms of investment, means fund investments.
What kind of projects or asset classes are relevant to your company at the moment?
Well, we still have quite large exposure to industrial. We have been built on it in the last 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. Instead, we were more underexposed to asset classes like residential or retail. So now we are looking at these two sectors, maybe starting with the residential, and someone like retail is under our radar. And alongside that, we are start exploring other sectors, the one we call niche, but they are not that niche in terms of size, like a data center or some part of the industrial warehousing as well.
You probably have a lot of work then at the moment. When you say resi, do you have any specific idea? Is it student housing? Is it multifamily, build to sell? And in which markets? Can you say that?
This is the interesting question because is residential. There are several kind of way you can approach them. And we started with student accommodation. This is under our residential umbrella and here in UK. And then we moved to student accommodation in Continental Europe where the product is not available. So now we're trying to develop. And the same we are doing with the more traditional residential, so BTR, where we are looking at the UK market and then we look at the Continental Europe as well. The third part of the residential for us, it will be the senior housing, something we are now starting to study how we can approach how we enter the sector.
And when you look at the European market, is there any country that you favor at the moment where you see the best opportunities?
We try to focus on liquid market. So the starting points always markets have a large stock, and these usually are countries like Germany, France. Now Spain is becoming a country that's under focus. Italy's always been there, but these are probably more like the one we call second tier, not because of less performing but just because in terms of liquidity and the size of the deals we are able to execute those.
At the moment, we see a lot of volatility in the geopolitical scene, the situation between Russia and Ukraine, Trump, China. When it comes to real estate and making the decisions in terms of deploying capital, what do you consider the main challenges for you?
As a sovereign wealth fund, we have a global approach, and the role for us is to diversify the economy, the Korean economy. So we invest our foreign reserve, that is US dollar denominator. So we try to invest every year in order to keep that diversification. So the geopolitical risk is there. It might impact us on where to invest, maybe a bit of how much we invest, but we always try to keep our investment pace in order to maintain the volatility low. So we have an eye on what happens about the geopolitical, but is not one of the key parameters for us to stop investing. So it means that we are continuing investing. We never stop investing.
Nowadays, we see a lot of investment, a lot of capital going to data centers. Do you see that as one of the most exciting opportunities at the moment? How much attention have you been giving to data centers?
It's definitely one interesting topic for us. We started investing in data center already a few years ago. And as a KIC, we have a more like a global approach. So we try to have operators that are able to be active in all different regions because we think that the winning part of the data center are the tenants. So we need to be able to be in contact with the tenants. The tenants, they have, especially when it comes to hyperscaler, they have a global needs. So when it comes to data center, we talk to global operators rather than regionals.
If I may, one final question. I want to take the opportunity you are here. I suppose that when you sit down or when you submit your projects to the investment committee, you probably have a counterpart sitting in the US. You mentioned you guys have an office now in Mumbai as well, here in Europe. Where do you see most of the interest from the main decision makers in the sovereign wealth fund at the moment? How do you balance these different trends? I know you are here in Europe, you're head of Europe, you probably favor Europe, but in the, behind the scenes, how is the fight between
this is interesting question because it's kind of question every year at the end of the year we try to explain in order to allocate the budget, right? US is a large market, and for us we are US dollar denominator, so most of the exposure is there. 50% of the real estate portfolio is in US, with 25 in Europe and 25 in Asia. So US will remain a big country, but actually I can follow the kind of trend now that Europe should be quite resilient. And the recovery is almost quicker than US in this cycle. So we start noticing. We'll still invest in US. Of course, another year of US still be stable as a market. Maybe we might decide to deploy more in Europe. But for now, our allocation is more long-term allocation. So we'll stay in these proportions.